Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sallam. Welcome to UK Islamic Mission Sisters 2024 Ramadan series. We're delighted to have you join us in this online platform today. We are looking into Together for Change. Throughout this series, we'll delve into the significance of collaboration in nurturing righteousness and God consciousness. I'm Rim Chakraborty, your host for today's session. With my unique journey as a revert and serving as the National Secretary for the Sisters New Muslim Care Department at the UK Islamic Mission, I've had the honor of contributing to our community for several years. I'm based at Masjid Ibrahim branch in South Zone. I bring a diverse background, having transitioned from an investment banking career to running my own business in education. Before we start, let's go over a few logistics. Please make sure to mute your mic and turn off your cameras. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them into the chat box and we'll address them during the Q&A session. Now we'll begin with a Quran recitation by Sister Sadia Mustaq. She will recite Surah Al-Kafirun, and English translation is already provided on the slide.
قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Sadia, for the beautiful recitation. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Let's proceed, inshallah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Prior to commencing today's program, I'd like to present an overview of the central theme for this year's UK Islamic Mission Ramadan. Our emphasis lies on وَكُنْتُمْ أَمْوَاتًا فَأَحْيَاكُمْ, and you were lifeless and he gave you life. The verse mentioned is from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 28. It serves as a poignant reminder of the transformative power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator who brings life from what was once lifeless. Through this verse, believers are reminded of their humble origins and the profound gratitude owed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the gift of life. It serves as a powerful affirmation of faith, inspiring believers to recognize the miraculous nature of their existence and to live in accordance with the teachings of Islam. Our sessions are committed to exploring the insights provided by esteemed speaker as we embark on the journey to uncovering the path to change. Please allow me to introduce today's speaker, Sister Madiha Khan. Sister Madiha Khan completed her MSc in Islamic Economics, Finance and Management from Newham University. Sister Madiha is a qualified actuary and is currently working in finance. She is also a former lecturer at the Markfield Institute of Higher Education. Sister Madiha has been associated with UK Islamic Mission for the past 8 years and is a former branch leader and a former youth leader and has actively been involved in youth activities for several years. MashaAllah, a very accomplished sister. I would like to invite Sister Madiha Khan to deliver her session. This week is our week 3, day 1, and we will be talking about community spirit, where she will be delivering a session on does teamwork make the dream work? Please feel free to engage with questions and comments throughout the session into the chat box. Sister Madiha, the floor is all yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallahu khairan, Sister Reem, for that introduction. I'm just going to share my slides now. If you can let me know if you can see them.
Yes, we can.
Okay, alhamdulillah. It's good to know. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. As Sister Reem mentioned, we're going to be kicking off this week, and the theme for this week is community spirit. We're going to be discussing different aspects of community spirit. Why is community work important? What it means to work for the community, what it means to work collectively, and what difficulties we might face um, when stepping into this arena, we might say. So I am going to ask a lot of questions from you, sisters. So I'd like everyone to stay alert. And I know everyone's really tired. It's almost iftar time. It's been a long day, but I'd really like everyone to participate as much as they can because I really like the sessions to be interactive. Like I mentioned, I'm going to ask lots of questions, and inshallah, hopefully the sisters will reply. So, true to my promise, I'm going to start the session with a question. The question is, how long does it take to forget someone after they die? Can I ask the sisters to please write it down in the chat box? Can you take a guess as to how long it will take for everyone to forget you after you pass away, after you've left this world? So, any guesses? How many years? How many decades? How many generations? Any guess? There's no right or wrong answer. Sister Reem says it after 2 generations. Okay. Okay, mashallah. Anyone else? Maximum 3. Okay. Come on, sisters. We can do better because we can't have only Sister Reem replying and everybody else just listening. Okay. I might have sprung that too soon. So, yes. Sister Reem, you are absolutely right. 100 years. Okay, that's a good guess. Sufia, Sister Sufia, Jazakallah khairan. Research suggests that it does take maximum of 3 generations for people to forget you. By the third generations, everyone will have forgotten you. So when the last person who knew you when you were alive dies, the memory of you dies with them. SubhanAllah, just last week I was missing my grandmother a lot. She was an incredible person. She passed away 10 years ago, one of the most inspirational people I've met in my life, and all of her children and grandchildren wish to be like her, which is a testament to her work, to her pure intention. But at the same time, the realization hit me that my children will never know her personally. They won't know her except as their grandmother's mom. And that is the reality for most of us. We think that we're indispensable in our homes, our workplaces, our community. But my teacher always used to say the graveyard is full of people who once thought they were indispensable. Yet the world does not stop turning once they pass. I mean, the sun still rise, the birds will still chirp, and their loved ones will gradually move on. And within a few decades, no one will remember their name. So this leads me to my next question. What is my value? What is my value in this world? If at the end of the day I am to be forgotten, if no one is going to remember me, then what is it all for? All my efforts, my tiredness, my sacrifices, what is the point of it all? They do seem to be in vain, do they not? So I ask you, my sisters, if my name is to be forgotten, right, and any wealth I leave behind is to be used up, then what is my value in this world? I decide I do not want to be forgotten. I want to be remembered forever. How do I go about doing that, sisters? How do I ensure that I am remembered? Can anyone take a guess? Yeah, how do I ensure that within 3 generations, my name is not forgotten? Or some part of me remains behind? Come on, sisters. I did mention I was going to ask a lot of questions. I want everyone to please wake up and let's participate so that we can make this as interactive and um, as useful as possible, inshallah, right? So we can do that by making an impact, right? How long will that impact last? Well, I mean, if your name is attached to something physical, like a building, then you will only last as long as that physical thing is still standing, correct? If you're aiming for glory or fame, then that glory or fame will outlast you by only so much. What about generational wealth? I mean, surely any assets that I've built in my life will be of use to my future generations, right? Unfortunately, not. According to a study conducted by the Williams Group, which is a wealth management group in the USA, a 20-year study, it's estimated that 70% of wealthy families will lose their wealth by the second generation, and 90% of them will lose it by the third. So any wealth that you pass down will be squandered by the third generation. So unfortunately, your wealth won't last you by by a lot, unfortunately. So, I mean, Akima Carr is a very interesting quote. Unless you are a great leader, a conqueror, or an influential thinker, you simply do not matter. Those closest to you will be the last ones to remember you, and as time passes, you will be lost to the sands of time, right? Now, to be able to make a lasting impression that can send a relevant message to the future, that is what matters. And we can do that through several ways. For example, by inventing something groundbreaking. Think of the inventions in the past 2 centuries that changed the face of the world. For example, penicillin, right? The first true antibiotic invented by Alexander Fleming, which heralded the dawn of the antibiotic age. Similarly, we have the steam engine, right, invented by Thomas Newcomen around 18th century, I'd say, kicked off the Industrial Revolution. Then we have the invention of the airplane by the Wright brothers, right? This revolutionized traveling. Invention of the light bulb, the most famous thing that comes to our mind when we say, "Oh, think about invention." The first thing that we say is the light bulb, right? Thomas Edison. It created the possibility of an industrialized modern world, a world where people had enough heat, food, and medicine through safer working conditions. So these change the world for the better. But what if we expand our viewpoint beyond that and speak about legacies? What does it mean to leave behind a legacy? If we look just past the scientific breakthroughs and ask ourselves the question, did all of these inventions, the ones that I've just mentioned above, did they do anything for social justice? Did they serve a greater cause? See, the inventions shaped by the mind of a single person, it may be of great use, but leaving a legacy means a lot more than that. So, can any of you sisters, using the chat box, name people who left behind legacies? And by that, I mean those who have left the world a better place in terms of freedom and justice, say in the past 200 or so years. Any name that comes to mind? Imam Shafi. Okay, mashallah. That is an amazing one. Jazakallah, Sister Tanya. Anyone else? Someone who left behind an amazing, amazing legacy, something that lives to this day, something that we look at and say, that is incredible work, right? It doesn't have to be a Muslim name. It can be anyone who's done something good. Mother Teresa, very good one. Maulana Maududi, excellent answer, Sister Sufia. Yeah, amazing people. They've done incredible work. Their name is mentioned to this day. Their work is a testament to their to the amount of sacrifice they gave towards their cause. Steve Jobs, I'm assuming, Sister Tanya. Yeah, Steve Jobs. Okay, he did pretty amazing work. He revolutionized technology, phone technology as we know it. So yeah, well, there were other people, but yes, he did amazing work in that area. Any other answers? Any other takers? How about Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela, right? These people, the examples I gave, mobilized an entire community. Muhammad Ali, okay, okay. He's a really, really famous name, and the work he did was amazing. Right? Okay, mashallah. Jazakallah, sisters. So, the mobilization of many people, like, for example, small pieces of a machine, they're all working towards a bigger cause, a greater cause, a revolutionary idea. So, when I speak about legacies, I'm talking about the mobilization of a community towards a bigger, a better cause, right? A revolutionary idea. So, a legacy involves so many people. It can be kicked off by one person, but we're all working towards a bigger cause and we're all doing it together. And those are the legacies that we want to be talking about today, inshallah, right? So let's go back to the topic of leaving an impact, right? What does our deen say about leaving an impact? We have in Surah Yasin, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُمْ وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ. Indeed, it is we who bring the dead to life and record what they have put forth and what they left behind. And all things we have enumerated in a clear register. So I want all the sisters to focus on two words from here. قَدَّمُوا and آثاره, right? قدموا means um قدموا means oops. Yeah, there we go. قدموا means whatever a person does in this life, whether good or bad, is entered into a divine register and will be reproduced on the day of judgment. Whoever you said a kind word to, whoever you extended a helping hand to, whenever you fed someone, whenever you smiled at someone, all the good and bad is being recorded in your book. Now, this is only for this life, when you are alive in this world. The other word I want you to focus on is atharahum. What a person leaves behind. The imprints, the after effects of our good deeds or bad deeds, all of a person's impressions or marks in the environment, even on your body, all your actions, your intentions, your goals and doings will be brought to life on that day as you watch them or answer to them. So any deed we do, good or bad, is stamped onto the universe. And everything we do, everything, no matter how small, has a domino effect, right? It leads to bigger and better things or worse things, depending on what the deed was. So we leave imprints on others through our actions because our deeds influence others. That smile you passed on to someone, that person you inspired to help at the food bank, that sister you encouraged to sign up for tajweed classes through your own dedication, right? These are all the ripple effects of your deeds. So, whatever influences how you affected other people, of your good or bad actions on your future generations, on society, on mankind, will be recorded in your account as far as they reach and as long as they remain operative, even if you are gone. And this is why we are not held accountable for our actions the moment we die, because our accountability is postponed till the day of judgment. Can anyone guess why? Why are we not held accountable for our deeds the moment we die? Yeah? Any sister? Okay, I'll let you all think about it. It might have been too deep a question. So, the reason is that our books of deeds are still writing even after we are gone through our athar, right? And they will keep writing until the day of judgment. Our books of deeds will not stop writing the moment we pass, because our deeds, which had a knock-on effect on the universe, are still ongoing through their imprints, their after effects on others. So the legacy we leave behind will follow us after we die. Now the question remains: what legacy do we want to be a part of? What legacy do we want to leave behind? I mean, I would hope the answer from everyone is that we want to be the part of the legacy of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Going back to the topic of my grandmother, my children may not know her personally. They'll never know her personally. They may never be able to speak to her in this world or receive dua personally from her, but they will know her, sisters. They'll know her through the lives of the people she's touched, the difference she made when she was alive, and the work of our deen that she did, which thrives to this day. Now, how do we go about doing that? So I want sisters to think about this for a minute, and I really want everyone to participate this time, and write in the chat box how you want to be part of Islam's great legacy. It can be through a skill that you've developed or you want to develop, or a goal that you're working towards. It can be an organization that you wish to support. It doesn't have to be confined to even one thing alone. It can be a multitude of things. But how do you yourself personally want to be a part of Islam's legacy? What do you want to do personally? Right, I'll give it a minute. Everyone, I want you to think about it and write down in the chat box. How would you like to be part of Islam's legacy? And like I mentioned, it doesn't have to be just one thing. It can be a number of things, right? It can be goals that you want but you haven't accomplished yet, but you wish to accomplish in the future. It can be something that you're working towards right now, right? Okay, so we're getting some answers in the chat box. Uniting the community. Okay, with everything I possess, I want to serve Allah's deen. MashaAllah. Spreading awareness. Okay, MashaAllah. It can be something really specific as well, sisters. So think of something that you want to do, right? So, for example, I say I want to be an activist. How exactly do I want to be an activist? Which area? And the area of activism is enormous. So, how do I going to go about doing that? Right? Or I want to spread knowledge. How exactly am I going to go about doing that? Just being kind to others and help people in need. Mashallah, really good reply. Okay, by joining a movement, it's easier. Yeah, definitely. We'll be discussing a bit more of that in a bit, inshallah, right? How to use movements or organizations to support our goals and our future targets. Okay, mashallah, mashallah. Really, really good replies, right? So, moving on. I'll sum up all of your answer, sisters, into one single word, and that word is community. Because we have not been created to exist in isolation. Think about it, sisters. So, what do people usually do when they are bored and are looking to share a hobby or learn a new skill, right? They join a group of like minded people, right? They attend coffee mornings and crochet classes and book clubs and aerobics and whatnot. I mean, it doesn't stop with one group, it goes deeper than that because our social circle isn't confined to one group of friends. We have a variety of interests, and we play different roles in the lives and groups of people that we are part of. I reflect that because and we have a quote by Aristotle that man is by nature a social animal and he must satisfy certain natural basic needs in order to survive. Now, I'm not a fan of the word social animal here, so I want everyone to focus on the second part of the quote. He must satisfy certain natural basic needs in order to survive, right? Because human beings are social creatures at the end of the day, right? We have a natural predisposition to work with others. And that is why we saw such an upspike in depression. And we all experienced a collective mental health crisis during the COVID-19 pandemic. And that is why solitary confinement is a form of punishment used in prisons and detention centers. Because isolation is an unnatural condition to humans. We are inherently social beings. No matter how introverted we are, at the end of the day, I mean, some of us are. I am an introvert, so I can speak from experience. We do crave that human interaction. So human context helps us to cope with the stress and major life changes. And research also links a low quantity of physical social interaction with a myriad of conditions, including cardiovascular disease, repeat heart attacks, autoimmune disorders, high blood pressure. In support of this idea, a group of researchers used fMRI to examine the brain activity of people who had undergone 10 hours of social isolation and 10 hours of fasting from food on separate days. And they found something really interesting. They found that following isolation, people displayed increased midbrain activity when shown pictures of some of their favorite social activities. For example, they were shown pictures of things that they like to do socially. And whenever they saw those pictures, it was observed that their brains, displayed more activity. Right. This brain activity was also related to subjective ratings of social craving and loneliness. Likewise, after fasting, people also showed increased midbrain activity when shown pictures of their favorite foods. And this activity was also associated with their self ratings of food craving. So, taken together, what these results suggest is that social isolation triggered a craving response to social cues that was similar to food craving after fasting, right? I don't want you all to be craving food right now. I know it's close to iftar time, but let's focus on the topic. In other words, people who experience social isolation or loneliness crave social connection, like a hungry person craves food. So we have similar to this in our Quran, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Except those who believe and do good and enjoin on each other truth and enjoin on each other patience. So, in a similar line, our Islamic existence and our worship should not be confined to just our individual selves. If our deen was meant to be confined to just ourselves, then this ayah would have just stopped at وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ and do good. But it continues with وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ and enjoin on each other good truth and enjoin on each other patience. So it continues, and which implies necessarily sharing our deen and its goodness with others. And sisters, the arena is enormous. The choices are limitless, but cutting ourselves off from the rest of the ummah and simply focusing on our individual homes and lives and personal worship is not an option. Worship is not a personal choice, as is famously quoted these days. And we understand this through the Quran and through the seerah, the life of the Prophet. ﷺ. Islam isn't just confined to your personal self. Islam, by definition, needs to be shared and seeks to benefit others. So, my Islam cannot be limited to myself. I need to be worried about others as well. We can't just think of our salah and our zakah and think that we're set and proceed to disengage from everything and everyone else entirely. So, our worship has a collective element to it, and there are several flavors to it. And this concept of community is ingrained in Islam. In Islam, there exists the idea of struggle for yourself and the struggle for tangible goods in the community. And then beyond that, the struggle for the idea of Islam itself, right? The benefit to Islam itself. Now, this feels at odds with a society that is becoming increasingly individualistic, right? What's individualism? It's a focus on my life, my choices, my rights. It's just me, myself, and I, right? And Islam tells us the complete opposite. It tells us to consider other people's rights, other people's feelings, and other people's situations. So our deen tells us to go out and mix with people, right? A collectivism. Now, Ibn Umar reported a hadith on this. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu said, "The believer who mixes with people and is patient with their harm has a greater reward than the believer who does not mix with people nor is patient with their harm." And this hadith is from Sunan Ibn Majah, right? So, why is there a greater reward? Why is there greater reward? Because it's hard to mix with people, sisters. It's hard. You have to put up with so many different and oftentimes, opposing and difficult temperaments and viewpoints. You have to put up with interference and gossip, and your mind tells you you'd much rather stay at home and not go through the aggravation of mixing with people. And yet, our deen emphasizes the complete opposite. Our deen tells us go out and mix with people, right? So, why is community so important? Why did the Prophet ﷺ emphasize to pray in jama'ah, to pray in congregation? Can anyone, wager a guess in the chat box? Why was the concept of salah, praying in jama'ah, so stressed on, right? Is stressed on. Why is Jumu'ah, the Salatul Jumu'ah, fard? Why is it compulsory to pray together? Can anyone maybe take a guess in the chat box? This concept of jama'at, this concept of community, why is it there in Islam? Unity and support. MashaAllah. Good answer, Sister Noor. Anyone else? Because we are social beings and we much rather mix with deen and be there for each other and know each other. Okay. Community feel. Okay. Yeah. Any other answers? Okay. So what happens, sisters, when people go for jama'ah 5 times a day? Obviously, it's the men who go for jama'ah 5 times a day. But what happens? Right? You get to know people. You see that brother coming to the masjid, right? What happens if some days go by and you know that a brother does comes to the masjid regularly, and all of a sudden you don't see that brother? Naturally, you inquire about him. What happened to that brother? Why isn't he coming to the masjid? Right? You get to know them and find their well-being. Really good answer. You create friendships for Allah's sake. MashaAllah, right? You create a bond. Allah says, get to know each other to create love. Yes. Similarly, just a second, missed a slide. There we go. Right? We meet each other. We talk to each other. We help each other when needed. Right? If someone's ill, we're like, oh, I am so sorry. I did not know that your father was ill. Let me go and say how he's doing. Right? Helping the people who are needy. Oh, I did not know that you were going through such hard times. Let's start a committee. Let's see who can get together and help this brother in need. Right? You get to understand the needs of the community. And this is why the concept of jama'ah is so, so, so emphasized in our religion. We get to see other people. You get to understand what needs are. Oh, what is missing from our community? Oh dear, our children are struggling with for example, finding a place to hang out. They're struggling with a good Islamic environment. They're not able to find one. Let's create one for them. Let's get our children together and have like a football tournament or something. Let's 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 go visit that brother who's not been feeling well. Let's go help that brother with his with part of his home renovation. You can share things with each other. People get to talk to each other. They get to share things that has been weighing down on them. Think of the elderly. One of the most one of the most pressing needs of our elderly, especially in the UK, is loneliness. They're lonely. They have no one to talk to. And when they go to the masjid, they meet people, they have someone to talk to. So it's sort of uh it's sort of tackling so many different ills that would go unresolved if we did not come together as a community. So Islam doesn't tell us just to live in society. It goes one step further. It tells us to help other people. وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان واتقوا الله إن الله شديد العقاب. Help you one another in al-bir and at-taqwa, which means virtue, righteousness, and piety, but do not help one another in sin and transgression. And fear Allah. Verily, Allah is severe in punishment. Right? So the struggle for Islam, working towards a cause, don't just live in this community, own this community. And the struggle for Islam is not going to be owned by one individual or one community or one organization. We need to accept the fact that this struggle may come from people who are exactly like you or from people who aren't exactly like you. So long as it's good work and done with the correct intention, then it should be respected and supported. So we may not agree with certain people 100% of the time, but let's be honest, who do we actually ever agree with 100% of the time? Do we agree with our husbands 100% of the time? With our children? Right? So when it comes to community work, when it comes to things like da'wah and tarbiyah and just doing good in general, we won't always agree with the people we are working with. But cooperating in virtue and piety is encouraged in our religion. And we cannot become so idealistic that we only agree to work with someone when we see eye to eye all the time. Right? So, someone who we are exactly on the same page with. At the end of the day, even our companions, our Sahaba, had differences of opinions amongst themselves, yet they loved and respected each other. So, on this topic, I'd like everyone to do a case study with me. Sister Aisha wants to spend some spare time teaching tajweed to the Muslim community. Sister Aisha has a ijaza in tajweed, and if she wants to serve the community, the Muslim community, by teaching tajweed. Right now, she has one masjid in her locality that are looking to introduce tajweed classes for sisters. This masjid has offered their platform to her and are willing to accommodate her preferred days and timings. Now, Aisha has some issues with the masjid. The primary one being their shoddy and cramped facilities for sisters, despite having a grand prayer hall and top notch facilities for men. Now, we all know a masjid or two like that in our locality, to be honest. We've all come across these sort of masajids where the brother side is so grand, it's spacious, they've got everything, they've got top-notch facilities, the heating works, they've got amazing audiovisual system, and the sisters entrance is basically next to the bins with one broken down toilet, and really cramped spaces, and the audiovisual is so bad that you can't hear the imam half the time, and when there's a speaker, the projector doesn't work and you're just sitting there straining and trying to listen to what the speaker is saying. So we've all come across these sort of masajid. Now, Sister Aisha feels very strongly about this because she sees the fact that this masjid has provided amazing facilities for the brothers. So she feels like their treatment towards sisters is discriminatory, and she doesn't wish to, you know, work with them, right? So she is considering starting tajweed classes for sisters at her own home instead. Now, the drawback for that is that she would have to, first of all, put in a lot of effort to get the word out, right? She wouldn't benefit from the support that a masjid would otherwise have provided in terms of, people helping out or the marketing, because the masjid already has an audience that's been coming to them for years, right? So she wouldn't benefit from that. And obviously, it would mean a lot more effort on her part, right? So, what should Sister Aisha do in this situation? What advice would you give Sister Aisha? Come on, sisters. I hope I haven't struck a nerve with the, situation of the fictional masjid. I know we've all hated when masajids don't give us the same facilities. But yes, what would you tell Sister Aisha to do? Reach out to the masjid rep, okay, or someone who runs it, okay. Talk to management. What should she do about her tajweed classes? Should she work with the masjid or should she conduct them at home? Because at the end of the day, they want her as a tajweed instructor, and she needs to make the decision about that. Okay, so Sister Noor, you've said that we need to remind her that she's working for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and she should work in the masjid. Okay, I would say go through the masjid. All right. Okay, most of these answers, okay, mashallah, all of you are have you're on the same page that she should probably, okay, doing in a group is better, push forward and take more people who are knowledgeable. The room isn't suitable for ladies. Okay, which room, Sister Amreen? Is it the room in her house or the room in the masjid? Okay, you feel that the room in the masjid isn't suitable for ladies. That would leave her with the option of teaching the classes at home because she doesn't have any other option at the for the time being. Yes, I do agree the room isn't suitable. It's cramped. It's it doesn't have any proper facilities. The toilet's broken half the time. It's really not a pleasant place to be teaching tajweed, right? Okay, mashallah, good answers. Okay, yes, I agree that it's yeah, okay, she can speak to the masjid about maybe giving them a better room. She can, okay, so here's the thing. When we come across these sort of masajid, the first thing we do is we rant and we get upset and we get really, really, really irritated at the masjid for treating our us sisters like this, as third-rate citizens. I actually had a masjid in my city like that, where the prayer hall for the brothers was adequate, for the sisters it was quite bad. But that masjid was actively trying to make it better. They were short of funds, and during one Ramadan, they made appeal after appeal after appeal that really need to treat our sisters better. We need to give them better, a better room, better facilities. Let's please come together. And mashallah, within a year, they had renovated it, the sister side to, like really, really, really top notch. They made it amazing. Okay, now Sister Aisha probably doesn't know if the masjid is planning on renovating or improving the sisters' facility or not. But right now, she needs to weigh the pros and cons. The pros are the masjid already has a really big audience, people who've been coming there. So, can she do more good? Can she get the word out? Can she improve more sisters tajweed, let's say, from the masjid or from her home? Because from her home, she'll just does a one-person army. She's working towards it herself. She's doing the marketing herself. She's doing all the preparation herself. She's doing everything herself, A to Z. In the masjid, okay, sorry, I'm just pausing for a minute. Sister Shazi said, ranting doesn't get us anywhere. We could raise funds ourselves, go through GoFundMe. Yes, exactly. So there are ways in helping the masjid improve. Talking to management, not just sitting there upset. Talking to management saying, look, I feel like, the sisters' facilities aren't really they're not really great. Can we just do something about it? Because I would like to teach with you, right? I would like to work with you. I'd like to teach sisters. The pros of working with the masjid is you're getting lots and lots of support. You're getting to work as part of the masjid's team. Hence, you're getting people to help you on the days that you're teaching tajweed. You're getting the masjid's own marketing platform to market the tajweed course, right? So this way more people can definitely gain benefit from it, right? So Sister Aisha needs to set aside her differences and not just, stew in silence. Talk to the masjid, tell them I feel very strongly about the fact that the facilities aren't up to the mark, but at the same time start the classes at least. Because again, the benefit of working in a community, of working together as a team, far outweighs the benefit of doing it alone, right? Think of it, sisters. Think of the bigger picture, right? I mean, it really, she's not happy with certain aspects of the masjid, but the benefits outweigh the negatives, right? Imagine you're a small part of a machine, right? A tiny part in a much larger machine. If you were to take that tiny, small, insignificant piece out, would the machine still work? Most definitely not. That is what it means to work collectively as a community. We are the tiny pieces in a much bigger machine. So here, the machine is the ummah, and our place in this ummah may seem unimportant, it may seem insignificant, sort of like just literally a ripple in the ocean, right? But just like the machine will not work without all of its parts, our community will struggle if you, my sisters, don't play your role, whatever that role might be. Right? We have the example of the tree in the Quran, right? ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء. Have you not considered how Allah presents an example, a good word like a good tree, whose roots are firmly fixed and its branches in the sky? So just like Allah gives the example of a tree in the Quran, kalimatun tayyibatan, the example is like the tree doesn't grow all of a sudden. No, it takes years and years to grow. It takes its sweet time, right? The branches grow in every direction. And just like the diversity of this ummah, all of which needs to be respected because each branch plays an important role. Now, okay, I've decided, I want to be part of the community. Where do I begin? Okay, where do I start? I mean, there is no one cause or one project in Islam because our community is diverse. Our needs are diverse. The work of Islam is, enormous. If you pick one project, for example, educating children, you say, okay, I want to work towards educating children. Okay. So within this one project, you'll find 100 smaller projects, like working on literacy, book clubs, library events, reading challenges, book signings, right? This is just the subgroup of literacy. Then you say, okay, no, I want to work on tarbiyah, right? So establishing regular Islamic education classes that impart, education in a child-friendly manner. For example, having regular youth clubs, just some place for the youth to come and hang out, inshallah. Okay, Sister Rim or someone from the IT team, I'm getting a few messages that people are not able to get into the chat, so if you could just please look into that. Jazakallah khairan. Okay. Similarly, we have a subgroup of fitness. We say, okay, we want to maybe provide Muslim children with, fitness classes or something to do with fitness. So we have different sports classes like football and cricket and basketball and whatnot. We can hold sports tournaments, right, between different masajids. We can have scouts groups. I mean, in my city, there's literally only one scouts group for Muslim children, which I find so sad given that mashallah we have so many children who could benefit from it because obviously the scouts group is limited in its capacity, so they keep after turning us away. And I feel like, oh, this is something that would have been amazing if masjids could just hold their own scouts groups, in their own localities, and just give children the platform to just be themselves and be amongst their Muslim peers. We could decide, I just want to be there to support our kids, so we could start homework clubs, one-on-one tutoring for sand children. Do you see how there are little offshoots in every area? And this is just one area, educating children. There's so many different areas, right? There's dawah, and there's tarbiyah, and there's outreach, there's local community support. So we need to ask ourselves, how can I contribute? What good can I do? What can I be a really good asset towards? Maybe something exists that I can help make better through my contribution. So understanding how I'm going to contribute towards some cause is the next step. So take into account your skills and your interests, what you are passionate about, like working toward according to your shakila, the word shakila in the Quran, which means a disposition or a habit or instinct or intention or ways or manners. It's a very deep word. It's hard to kind of translate it into the English language or just squeeze all the meaning into one word. It means a lot of different things. But what that basically the crux of it is that work towards the your the disposition Allah instilled in you, right? Something that you're naturally good at or you feel passionate about. And that is where like minds come together and the process of ta'awanu, cooperation starts, the cooperation amongst each other to achieve a joint goal. And the best way to go about doing that is through a platform like this one. For those of you who aren't aware, UKIM has literally a plethora of different projects that cover different areas of society, from revert support to da'wah to tarbiyah to local community support to outreach. And if we look at, these sort of platforms are one of the best places you could join, because you have so many different options and you have this whole established system already in place, something that you can immediately join and help improve through your support. And if we look beyond the wider society, there are hundreds of different Islamic platforms, each dedicated towards a particular cause. You can join one, give them your time, give them your talents, and you will see the barakah that comes when you work collectively towards a joint goal. So, are we going back to our case study? Are we in a better position now to give Sister Aisha advice on moving forward with her tajweed classes? Knowing what we know now, knowing the barakah that comes with joint community work, the barakah that comes with working collectively towards a joint goal, what would we tell Sister Aisha now about her tajweed classes? I mean, most of you, had most of you gave the correct answer anyway, but we would tell her basically that setting aside differences is a part of working in the community or working for the community. To work towards a joint goal, we need to compromise on certain aspects. At the same time, we shouldn't accept accept what we call mistreatment or maybe treatment that we wouldn't like from a certain community or a certain masjid. But at the same time, we can't cast everything aside and decide that we're not going to work with someone because we don't like a certain aspect of what they're doing, right? Let me give you the example of Palestine, sisters. Our hearts are bleeding for Gaza, right? Every single day we see horrifying images and everyone's hearts and are linked with Palestine in this Ramadan. What can we do practically to help them? As a community, what can we do practically to help them, right? Can we help our brothers and sisters in Gaza as a community? Okay, we can raise money. Good. Dua and charity. Trying to send food. Okay, yeah. Sending aid through organizations. Uh-huh. What else? Boycott. That is correct. Join the BDS movement, right? Give like send economic pressure. Dua and awareness. Dua attend protests, peaceful protest. Mashallah. Good answer. Good answer. I'm still looking for that one answer, one answer that that really kind of gives us the crux of what it means to work as a community, something that could make a really, really big impact. Okay, raising awareness among non-Muslims. Mashallah, amazing replies. How about voting? What does voting have to do with Palestine? Can anyone tell me? What is voting? How can voting help our sisters and brothers in Gaza? How is that connected to the situation happening right now? Yep, really, really good answers. Yeah, exactly. Okay, Sister Tanya, really good. Don't vote for those who didn't vote for ceasefire. So we know that only 19% of the MPs actually voted for a ceasefire, and the rest either abstained or voted against, right? Your vote matters. If the Muslim community as a whole, every single person voted and made sure that our voices were heard, right? We showed support for the people who showed support for our brothers and sisters in Gaza, and we decide not to support the ones who didn't, then that would make a massive, massive impact, right? So, not to steer this conversation off on a tangent, but the people who are still on the fence about voting, please register, please, 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 because this, as a community, the amount of impact we can create just through our vote is unimaginable. We can't really put a number on that. The impact would be enormous, right? So moving on quickly, because I am aware that we're running out of time. Now, even though all good work, Islamic or non-Islamic, must be respected, we still need to be mindful of working with organizations whose values clash with Islamic values. So, a charity that battles cancer in the UK, amazing. Extend your support to them, fundraise for them, help them in any way that you can, because what they're doing is amazing work. But if there's a cause that helps struggling artists in the music industry, let's say, okay, I just made that up. I don't even know if there's a cause like that. But let's say there's a cause, right? It says we're going to help struggling artists in the music industry. Would we extend our support to that, or would we work with them? No, of course not, because music is haram. So we don't want to support a cause that supports that leads to a haram thing, right? So we need to be careful. That we need to draw boundaries, and we need to be very, very careful when extending support to organizations, right? So naturally, there are other outcomes that come from joint community work. Like in addition to exercising caution when supporting other causes, we also need to exercise caution when communicating and interacting with the opposite gender. Because in terms of community work, there are certain situations where the men and women have to work together for that joint cause. Now, to what extent can we interact with the opposite gender when engaged in community work? So I'm going to put forward a few situations, and I want everyone to please reply in the chat box. Now, the first situation, having a joint WhatsApp group of sisters and brothers for the purpose of communication. So there's an event happening, or there's a series of events that's going to happen. Brothers and sisters have to work together to help that event, and there has been a joint WhatsApp group created to communicate with all the people who are volunteering towards that event. Okay, so can everyone please write down in the chat box how they feel about that? Is that something that is acceptable or not? Okay, personally, Sister Noor feels that's not acceptable. Okay, Sister Sarah says it's acceptable. Okay. Now, as long as the purpose of this group is only communication, okay, many people could have issues at home with regards to that, not acceptable. Yes, and yeah. Here we need to see what the purpose of that WhatsApp group was. Is if it's only for communication, that all volunteers need to be stationed in their places at this time, all the volunteers need to do this at this time, or all volunteers need to, do this task or help with cleanup, etc. If the purpose is only communication, then good. But we need to make sure that the conversation doesn't veer from communication into other areas, right? So we need to be wary of free mixing in the digital realm. You know the term khalwa, right? When a man and woman are alone together. Well, we need to be wary of cyber khalwa, where a man and woman are alone together in the cyberspace, becoming too familiar with a brother in a private conversation. So the same rules that apply when speaking to someone face to face, they also apply when speaking to the opposite gender on WhatsApp. Not be too jokey, not send too many, too many smileys, not become too familiar with the other person. The conversations need to be professional, right? So they need to be brief and to the point. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, some good answers. Okay, next case. There is a joint effort to serve food at the sisters' event. So the brothers are lugging in the heavy pots of food, of biryani, etc., inside, and they're ladling the food onto the serving trays. And the sisters are bringing the food to the tables because it's a sisters-only event. So the brothers are working outside the room. They're getting all the food ready, and the sisters are bringing the trays in. Right now, what would we say about that when they're working together in this manner to serve food at a large sisters only event? Okay. Sister Sophia said it is acceptable. Any other answers? Okay, I am conscious of the time, so I'll move ahead. As long as yes, intentional plus yes. Okay, mashallah, good answer. This is completely necessary, first of all. Okay, you can't expect sisters to lug heavy pots of food from trucks. And it's okay. But again, we need to keep the boundaries of free mixing in mind, right? There needs to be communication between the two parties to make sure that everything runs smoothly, but no unnecessary informality, right? Unless someone's a husband and wife or someone, we don't want to move into that, to cross that boundary, to cross that line. Okay. The third case, mountain climbing for charity. Okay, so there's a charity climb going on. They're climbing Mount Snowdon, for instance, right? Where the brothers and sisters are going there together. Sister Tanya says no. Okay. Any other answers? Okay, yes, not acceptable, not really, no. Okay. Climb a different mountain. Oh, not Snowdon. Okay. Dr. Batul isn't a fan of Snowdon. Okay. Depends if they're mahrams. Okay. So if a couple are going together, so I'm not going to guarantee they're all going to be couples there. So, like married folks. So, okay. So unless the sister decided we need to, yes, proper clothing. That is absolutely correct, Sister Shaz. Now, let's just say sister decide they want to go separately. There is the very real issue of safety and logistics. We don't want a sister accidentally tumbling off a mountain. Okay. Again, there's really no right or wrong answer here. Personally, I would not go for that, but I do know sisters who do. So here, I would say that keep again the rules of free mixing in mind. Okay, work in groups maybe, right? Brothers on one side, sisters on the other side. Again, make sure that their safety is kept in mind. Okay, and you know perhaps make sure that your clothing is appropriate, and there are maybe mahrams or group leaders, someone there present. Okay, you can't be just all a bunch of 17, 18-year-olds going there together. There needs to be someone more adult present to make sure that everything is correct. Again, personally, this is not for me. This is not something I would do, but again, it depends on the situation, right? There might be married couples there who are going together. Great, awesome. But there do needs to be some rules in place. Okay, it can't be just let's all go together, have fun, have a laugh, spend the day climbing Snowdon and then come back and go. It can't be like that. There do need to be rules in place, right? Now, there are two groups decide to go. We're gonna go mountain climbing. We're gonna climb Snowdon. On the way back, they decide, the brothers and sisters, that we're really, really hungry. So let's just stop and have dinner at a restaurant before going home. What does everyone say about that? Anyone? No, absolutely not. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Yes, unless you decide to have two separate tables. Again, most people who go mountain climbing, by my experience, take their own food. Okay, but if you're really, really hungry, sitting together is something that is crossing the line into informality. Sitting together because leads to laughing, leads to joking, leads to exchange of numbers, leads to chit chat, leads to lots of unnecessary things, and it is definitely crossing a line, taking things too far. Far too casual. Yes, Sister Amna is right. Far too casual. Right? So having dinner together, sitting together at table and laughing and talking about the what they did that day, absolutely unacceptable. Okay? So again, these rules need to be kept in mind in joint community work. They don't just all of a sudden disappear. The rules don't, go poof into thin air if we're doing joint community work. They still need to be there. Okay? Now, last case before I sign off, attending a weekend youth retreat. I couldn't fit everything onto the slide, so I'm just going to read out. There's a bunch of 15 to 18-year-olds attending a weekend youth retreat. During the daytime, while they're attending the retreat, they sit on opposite side of the room or in separate rooms, depending on the activities. However, and their sleeping arrangements are in separate buildings. However, they are unchaperoned. No again. No. Okay, mashallah. Mashallah. Everyone's got the right idea here. Okay? Again, look at the age of the young people attending. How can we not send a chaperone with them? There needs to be a chaperone. Okay, if it's a weekend retreat, even if there are separate or sleeping arrangements, they're separate buildings, shaitan is always there. Shaitan is not going to just leave them even if seeing that it's an Islamic retreat. So there needs to be a chaperone. There needs to be a very tight chaperoning going on there during the daytime and the nighttime, right? So it's not something that we can just simply go ourselves or send our children to and just be very casual thinking that this is an Islamic retreat. Of course everyone's going to be on their best behavior. No, that doesn't happen. Okay, the like I said, shaitan isn't going to leave our youngsters alone seeing that, oh, it's an Islamic event. Okay, let's not be here. Shaitan is always going to be present, so there needs to be supervision and there needs to be a chaperoning there. Definitely, most definitely not. Again, personally, not for me, probably something I would not do. But if there are young people present, there needs to be rules in place for how things are going to proceed during the daytime and during the nighttime when they are in their own rooms and in their own dorms, inshallah. Okay, so mashallah, really good answers. And with this, I end my topic for today, again, which is community spirit. Would anyone like, does anyone have any questions? Then they can use the chat box, inshallah. Anything at all? If not, then jazakumullah khairan and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think someone said. Okay. Okay, Jazakallah khair, Sister Madiha, for leading such an exceptional and enlightening session. The contribution that everyone made was amazing, like the questions asked and also the answers given. Jazakallah khair to all. Okay, so that was really a very insightful understanding about, like the mahram and non-mahram, mashallah. It gives a very good judgment for us, like where to draw the line and, to maintain boundaries and to uphold Allah's rules and regulations, keeping that in mind at all times, no matter where we are and what we do, inshallah. And moving forward from there, yes, everyone's just saying Jazakallah khair. Any more questions, sisters, before I move on? If not, then we move on to the appeal for today. We are doing an appeal for supporting Syrian refugees. Today, we urgently appeal for support for Syrian refugees in Lebanon and Turkey who face dire circumstances due to ongoing violence, leading to hopelessness, poverty, and unemployment, integration challenges with local population. The UK Islamic Mission's Syrian Refugee Care Programme offers critical aid, including monthly food packs, emergency survival packs, and shelter to alleviate their sufferings. Your donations can make a meaningful difference, providing essential resources and comfort to those in need during this humanitarian crisis. Jazakallah khair, dear speakers and attendees, for your time and participation in answering all the questions. We also thank all the UKIM volunteers, as well as the platform that we can hold such programs. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He's helped us to come together and bring about this beautiful gathering. We have these national programs running Monday to Thursday throughout Ramadan. We will see you again tomorrow, same time, same place, discussing more on community spirit with different topics, inshallah. And now we will come to the du'as. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. Our Lord, and lay not upon us a burden like that which you laid upon those before us. Surah Baqarah, verse 286. This is a dua asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the path of righteousness easy upon the believers, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our life's tests to be one of those that we are capable of enduring and overcoming, to not be tested more severely than our predecessors. Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم. Jazakallah khair wa rahmat. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.